Over the past year, the TANGO2 Research Foundation has been working in close partnership with an organization called Give an Hour to deeply address the complex mental health needs of our rare disease community. Together, we have successfully trained a dedicated cohort of volunteer regional coordinators, equipping them to serve as vital frontline lifelines for families navigating the sudden medical crises and the mental health crises in our community. They have someone near them that they can turn to. This collaboration has also guided the creation of our foundation's formal mental health response plan that we're developing, and it's fueled our newly launched mental health toolkit, which is now available on our website. We're incredibly proud of how this partnership is strengthening our community's resilience, and now we're fortunate to have a guest from Give an Hour who's here today to share more with us. Julie Wells has spent over 32 years in the nonprofit sector working on community-based issues centering marginalized populations and access to opportunities as the focal point of her impact. In 2024, she joined Give an Hour, a national mental health nonprofit, as the Director of Strategic Relationships. In this role, she travels nationwide, providing training and support to diverse communities, including military personnel, individuals affected by rare diseases, and survivors of crime. She also has a personal connection to the rare disease community through her own experience with genetic heart failure, which similarly affects her sister, nieces, and nephew. Please welcome Julie Wells.
Wow, that thunder's ominous, isn't it? I don't know what that's supposed to mean for me. There's the disclosures, nothing going on. Welcome. Good to see you all. Thank you for letting me be in community with you. I'm very excited to have a moment to really hone in on mental health, which is actually present all the time in every conversation that you're having, every appointment, every interaction with another human being. Mental health is baked into it. So it's a very unique opportunity to be able to target a conversation around mental health and talk about the realities of living with a rare disease and the mental health journey. Give an Hour has been a nonprofit for 21 years focusing on mental health. This has been a wonderful opportunity. We actually had a pharma sponsor who came to us a year and a half ago and said, we want to increase caregiver supports to the rare disease community, and you get to pick 6 organizations that you work with. And so I got connected to Kasha, and it's been a wonderful journey. And shout out to Robin, who has been walking this path alongside of me as well. As Kasha mentioned, I do not have personal experience with TANGO2, but when I was 37, I had sudden cardiac death. I was luckily saved by my husband at the time, who did CPR on me for 12 minutes before EMS got there, shocked me 7 times, and then took me to Duke Hospital, where I woke up 10 days later being explained how I was going to have an ICD. Hannah and I are twins in that way. We both have one. And I had, a great electrophysiologist, love Kevin Thomas. But the first thing they talked to me about was, okay, you did nothing to cause this. There's nothing you can do to prevent it. So here's some wound management care. Go live your life. I was like, what are you talking about? I felt like it was like the movie The Hangover. Like I woke up and everyone had this experience, and I'm just like, where are we? What is going on? Because literally, my friend walked in the room. I was like, can someone wash my hair? Like, what is happening here? And so it took me on a journey alongside my physicians at Duke Hospital, who were so great. We actually started peer support. Having an implanted device inside of your body is a strange thing. Having someone be able to manipulate your heart rate outside of your body is a very, very strange thing. And so it was really important for me to find community that not only had an ICD, but I needed women in their 30s who were raising children, who were having a similar life experience to mine. And so over the years, this is my niece. She was that little bald baby in the front. She actually has a defibrillator now. My sister actually has a defibrillator now. Our genomes have been studied at Duke University. We have an unknown genetic component to all of our health that manifests in different ways. And then this cute little man on the side is my partner, who I'm a caregiver for. He's had 2 spinal fusions, spine stimulator, and a neck fusion just 3 months ago. So I'm a primary caregiver to him as well. All right, so let's talk about mental health and what it means. As I was contextualizing, sometimes when we speak about mental health, we just think the negative stuff. But mental health is a spectrum. That's right. See, they're backing me up, reinforcing my point. We sometimes shy away from mental health conversations because we think they're going to be heavy and deep, but we need to really normalize conversations about how we're emotionally handling situations, both the good stuff and the bad stuff. It's lovely to take a moment to reflect on something really powerful that happened. I thought about that at lunch, watching each individual get their crown, right? What a special moment that was in that moment. But that's an important thing to maybe talk about afterwards. Like, how did that feel to be recognized, to be in a place where people really celebrated you? That's part of the mental health spectrum as well. I do like to, advocate for systems that will create environments where our mental health can shine. Although what we know is that at the end of the day, the only behavior that we can really impact is our own. And so I'd like to focus this conversation on what are the things that you as an individual can do for yourself and the power of community, which you all feel so deeply. What I've found over the last 3 years of working, I've worked with 30 patient advocacy groups now and hundreds of patients and caregivers, is that unfortunately, I think for families, rare disease is not always named as trauma, clearly. Because when you name it as trauma, then you start to understand and look for the impacts of the experience so that you can mitigate some of the effects that rare disease can have on an individual and on a family and on the community. You all have talked about extended diagnosis journeys. We've talked about the medical uncertainty of dealing with complex systems that oftentimes don't understand us or sometimes actually fail us or even harm us, which is very complex. Going into the hospital when the couple up here, Tyson, is Tyson still in the room? Again, you were able to tell that story so calmly and, but I see you in the car. I see y'all in the car, right? I see the frantic phone calls. I see, pay attention to the road. Where are we going now? Oh my God, get out of my way. I know that was the actual experience. You're just able to talk about it now. And that feeling of having something going on with your child and you can't get there is terrifying. And that actually lives within your body. 2 weeks from then, if you're having trouble sleeping or you're going to the grocery store and you feel panicked, right? These are the residual effects of these traumatic events. I hope it's okay. I'm calling y'all out, but you sat on stage, so yeah, you're fodder now. And I think that those get missed. And a lot of times I think it gets missed because it's such an ingrained part of your life. You're living it day after day after day. You've had hospitalization after hospitalization. For families who don't deal with medical crisis, going to the ER maybe once or twice in a childhood experience. And those of you who are having this lived experience are having to do something that other people receive as trauma, but that becomes your norm. So I love to just acknowledge that it can be really, really hard. Living with a rare disease can be really, really hard, heavy, exhausting, so lonely at times. Like you were talking about I'm going to Italy, now I'm going to Holland. I talk to new families all the time who their first child ends up having a rare disease and they were on the path to join their friends, to have the same type of developmental milestones. And now they feel isolated. Or even within their own family, they may be the second sibling to have a child. And the family's had one type of experience and now they're bringing in a new experience. That does not mean that there is not beauty on this journey, as you all attest to, and I see every single day. This is my favorite place to be. Is the rare disease community. It's highly emotional. I feel really overwhelmed at times, and I feel really sad at times, but I always feel joyful at every moment because of what I see in individuals and in communities that come together. So I just want to acknowledge that as you go on this journey, your mental health impacts and your mental health needs will continue to evolve. That point of being newly diagnosed, right, is like it's a relief. I mean, listening to Robin's story of waiting 27 years, Robin, was it? 27 years for a name. That is such a milestone for folks to understand what is going on. And so that diagnostic journey can come both with elation, but also a new wave of fear when you start to read more and more about what TANGO2, how it progresses. The spells, maybe that hasn't been an experience yet. The seizures. I mean, I've been listening to the medical information today. There's a lot of complexity to what you might anticipate your journey in TANGO2 might be. We know we have our angel families here. And I'm so glad that we elevate the angel families and we continue to bring them into our communities. But that is only one type of loss in this journey, right? There's anticipatory grief. There's a loss of the life that you thought you were going to have. And all of those things get replaced with the new life you're living, which again has a lot of beauty and joy in it. But just acknowledging that change and that loss and grief happens all along the journey, not just at the time when you lose the physical presence of someone that you love. And then those of you who are emerging into the adult phase of living with TANGO2, you know, I heard Robin talk about it this morning, starting to think about Hannah's her next experience of where she might live with friends, those types of long-term management and those transitions, they can bring along a lot of new emotions and complexity as well. I'm not telling you all things you don't know, just reminding you. So I want to talk about two different things, I think, ways that you could impact the way that you are experiencing rare disease. And one is how you treat yourself. So two things I'm going to focus on. One is self-compassion. Self-compassion means how you speak to yourself. And the easiest way to be more compassionate to yourself is to talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone else. That's simple. That's simple. So, can I use y'all again, Tyson? Are you okay, right? Thanks. You're on my radar now, or it's going to be Robin and Kasha the whole time. So, I imagine, and you don't have to affirm or not, let me just pretend like it's real. I imagine that you stated we had never left. We had never had a date. We had, we planned it well. She was okay. Everything was okay. It was okay. And then you go on this experience and then things turn very quickly. I imagine in situations like that, there can be a lot of self-talk, guilt. I should have made a better choice. I shouldn't have gone so far away. I should have thought about traffic and what we would have needed to do better. These are all the things that we start to ruminate on when we think that we have done something that we could have done better. However, as if someone else was telling that story to them, right, it would have been a very different conversation. This is the first time you've ever been away. Everything was okay. You left your child with a caregiver that understood TANGO2. You had an emergency letter, right? You didn't go overnight somewhere. You were an hour and a half away. Who can predict what traffic is going to look like, right? These are the things that we say to others, but unfortunately, we don't say to ourselves. So that's the first thing I want to just, ask you to consider as you walk back into your lives is when you start to process ways in which you think you might have been able to show up more, better, if you don't hold it together when you're in that doctor's appointment, if you don't hold it together when you're in that school and you do break down and it does become emotional, forgive yourself and accept that those are human responses. My friend, Dr. Al Friedman, who's a psychologist, also had parented a child with a rare disorder. He said you're having a very typical response to an atypical situation. And I think that is very true. The other is emotional regulation. And I've been thinking about this a lot while I've been here and listening to the stories, particularly as we were talking about advocacy. Emotional regulation does not mean suppressing your emotions. Doesn't mean don't feel it. Don't let it come up. That's actually going to be very harmful to your body because your body doesn't forget. It always stays within your body. Your emotions stay with you. But instead, what we want to elevate is understanding your own pain points, understanding your own activation, your own triggers, understanding like what is your go-to response usually when you're under pressure. Who are you? Are you a fighter? Are you a flighter, right? Are you someone who freezes? All of those qualities are either been reinforced in you somehow in your life or just kind of some of your natural tendencies. So know who you are and use it, right? I am a fighter. I'm not afraid of conflict at all, to the great chagrin of my bosses all through my life. Like, you know what you got when you walked in a door. However, so my emotional regulation is never going to be to become passive. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not how I operate. It's not how I feel powerful. However, that fight in me, I have to emotionally regulate. And I have to, I was in a fight moment yesterday, actually, where you ever done that, like mad at somebody and you're typing that email? Then you edit it a little bit. Yeah. I sent it to my friend. I was like, how salty is this? On a 1 to 10 scale. She's like, it's about a 6. Let's edit. I'm like, okay. So the fighter in me is sending that email. The fighter in me is standing up for myself and expressing myself. I don't feel good unless I do that. But the emotional regulation aspect for me is to learn to edit, take a moment, get a third party involved so that I can get my point across. Because my assertiveness can come off as aggression. And aggression can look like disrespect. And as soon as people feel disrespected, they're not as interested in what you have to say anymore. And it's not my intention to be disrespectful. My intention is to advocate for myself. So emotional regulation really means understanding yourself and taking it where you're at. And I just have to say, everything that you said about advocacy is right on. But we sometimes miss that if you do not know how to emotionally regulate, you cannot just keep it together in a meeting, right? You have to, and even if you have prepared yourself well, and I tell this example a lot because it's happened to me. So if I'm going to see my electrophysiologist, okay, who I only get access to once a year, once every 18 months now. I've got a long list of questions I want to talk about. I'm prepared. I know it's going to be a pain to park. I'm going to get there early. I know how long it takes to walk in. Everything's good. This is not my first rodeo. I've done this for 15 years now. But I walk up to the front door and they have a metal detector. Well, of course, I have a defibrillator. I can't go through a metal detector. So I'm used to that. It happens in airports all the time. Like, hey, I can't go. I've got a defibrillator. And most times people are very kind. One time, somebody wasn't. They acted annoyed. Okay, just come over here. We're going to have to go through all of your bags. We're going to have to pat you down. Now they're taking everything out of my bag as I'm going to an appointment. I'm getting a full pat down in the front of the hospital. And I already told y'all I'm a fighter. So you can imagine I am not happy now. And actually, I'm so dysregulated by the time I get up to my doctor's appointment. I'm so jacked up, I don't even know, because all I want to do is call my sister and moan about this person who was so mean to me, right? So being able to recognize, even if you're prepared, emotional dysregulation happens and you need some strategies for yourself. These are all different ways that people soothe their nervous system. I guarantee each one of you has one, and you may not even recognize it. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll find myself doing this. Just rubbing my arm softly. When I've said that to other people before, I've had people in the crowd say, oh, I rub my feet together when I get in bed. Oh, I twirl my hair when I get nervous or anxious, right? Our body kind of calls to us to do these things that self-soothe. I take deep breaths all the time and unintentionally. I was watching someone else today who I could tell was like getting emotional, and I went, like I took a deep breath for them. Right? Like my body has taught me what it needs. And so I follow along. This is why people are doing cold plunges. This is why people need to go take a walk. Rhythmic motions do it. I know when I'm in a full-fledged panic attack, I don't want anybody to talk to me, but I need someone to hold my hand. I need physical touch, but I need silence. And I bet that you probably see this in the warriors that you're raising. There's probably things that they do that are self-soothing for themselves. And recognizing that and reminding that they have that power to self-soothe can be very, very powerful. All right. Self-care, selfish. I will tell you a secret. I hate the term self-care. I hate everything about it. I hate the images it brings up for me. I hate listening to people talk about their self-care practices. I think that particularly in the age of social media, it looks like trips and nails and fancy coffees and, extravagance in some way. Well, I've worked for a nonprofit my whole life. I don't have money. I can't go on a trip to Cancun with my girls for 3 days to get away. I don't care about getting my nails done because I work on my farm. And I work like 10 hours a day all the time. So self-care for me has worked as I have renamed it as self-preservation. It is not optional. It is a part of my rituals and my routines because without it, I can't continue to move forward. Now, I have this interesting little thing in my chest, too, that reminds me that if I don't care for myself, it will remind me that I'm not caring for myself. But I want to just remind each of you to look for the moments, look for the rituals and the routines, the small things. For me, I work from home if I'm not on the road, and my self-preservation is as soon as I can finish a meeting, all I do is change my clothes, change my shoes, and I walk out my back door and I start doing my thing. Burning stuff, picking up sticks, making art, whatever it is. It's accessible. I don't have to get in the car. It doesn't cost me any money. All I got to do is change my shoes. That is a self-preservation tactic that I can use. I also love being in the mountains. I have a cabin in the mountains of North Carolina. It is such a beautiful, peaceful space. But if that was my self-preservation, it'd be pretty limited because I can't always live there. I have to find the things in my life that are accessible to me. And I encourage you to do those things for yourself as well. And there's all different domains of self-care, and most of us have a tendency to lean on in one space or another. So, for instance, physical, that's me. Like, I want to get outside and chop wood and burn stuff and tear stuff down. I don't want to exercise. Like, I don't want to go to a gym, for God's sakes. I'm not doing that. I always think like I'm doing my own CrossFit in my yard. But that is my thing. But when I'm on the road, I don't have access to any of that. I don't have access to my yard. I don't have access to my tools. I can't do my art. And so I have to have other self-care practices that I can pull from when the ones that I want to lean into don't always feel accessible to me. So in that place, oftentimes this is where I will lean into more of the mental stuff. This is where I'll do more journaling when I'm on the road. It's where I'll call my friends I haven't talked to in a while. I build in some other things that help me feel connected to the community that I need, which is kind of the antithesis of what I do at home when I want to escape from everyone in my yard. So I find that balance. I encourage people to have at least two, because if you have something that becomes inaccessible, like physical, I've seen this with friends before who are runners. They, break their leg or break their ankle, and then they can't run, and they just like sink into a depression because they've lost that capability. Like if you couldn't ride your horse, that would be very sad, right? But you would naturally need to find, like, if something gets taken off the table, something has to replace it. All right, and then this is the most palatable one because you're in it right now. Connection, 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 connection. There's been a study done by Harvard University, and if there's physicians in the room that know more about the study than me, just put your head down, pretend like you don't know anything, because it'll embarrass me if you speak up. But it's called The Good Life, and my daughter actually found the podcast, and I read the book recently. And so over 70 plus years, these Harvard researchers have looked at basically quality of life. With hundreds of patients, generations within the same families, to understand what is the most important things for people to have to feel as if their quality of life is really strong. And I bet y'all can guess what it is. It's not money. It's not socioeconomics. Yeah, it is community. It is being connected authentically to other people. That could be within your family, it could be within your neighborhood, it could be within your school, your faith community, or us who get this beautiful experience of meeting other people who are living with extreme trauma, but I found such beauty, strength, and joy in the power of being together with others who understand their journey. Connection can happen over long periods of time or short periods of time. I connect with folks at every single conference I go to, and sometimes it's just having a quick conversation in line where we find something in common, or acknowledging that somebody looks particularly beautiful today, and then we start to talk about where they bought their shawl, or their hair looks really nice, and it just opens up a dialogue and a conversation. Oftentimes, we think that people are messy and we want to avoid connection with others. That is something that's kind of ingrained. And I will say, if you sit beside me on the plane, I am not talking to you, and I appreciate if you don't speak to me. I'm burnt by the time I get on a plane. But I do keep my eyes open and my heart open when I am in spaces like this, because you never know where that conversation is going to take you. You never know what you're going to learn or what you're going to share. And I've had moment after moment after moment with individuals that lasted no more than 10 minutes, where at the end we hugged, and it's that real hug, where it feels like really tight and an extra moment. We will never see each other again, but that moment meant something right then, and we stockpile those moments of connection. Particularly in rare disease, there is nothing better that you can do than be in community. I see it over all the patient advocacy groups that I work with. And however community collectivizes is okay. It doesn't have to be in person, though. This is the most powerful version. I will just name it. This is the most powerful version. Sitting beside someone, touching someone, putting your arms around someone. There is something really unique. I've been working with Dr. Kathleen Bogart out of Oregon State, who has done some really cool psychosocial research around the impact of conferences. But we know that virtual engagements can be very powerful too. I lead a caregiver support group for the Fragile X community. I couldn't love those women anymore. No, not at all. I can't wait to see him tomorrow night. Can't wait to check on Karen's husband, see how he's doing. We have no other context to know each other except for this place and space that we come together. And I'm not caregiving for someone who has fax tasks. I'm a caregiver, and we can still find that connection. So I like to remind folks in rare disease, as important as the TANGO2 community is to you, as it should be, I want you to know that you are part of a larger community of rare disease as well. And we have seen absolutely, there's a lot of power, particularly when you connect with others who are having a similar experience. I'm also a caregiver. I've also newly diagnosed. I've also lost a child. I'm caring for a spouse. Those types of lived experiences really do translate, because people are willing to learn. No one's more willing to learn than another rare disease person about someone else's lived experience. And then I just have to end by reminding everyone that more than anything else, I give an hour. I think what we want people to hold on to is that hope is the most powerful tool that you have beyond connection. And it can be very difficult to be hopeful on the rare disease journey. And it can be on a wave. Your hopefulness can drop when you're sitting there looking at your child in ICU. You can feel terrified, and the feelings of hopefulness feel very far away. And then it can rise again as you see a turn happen. Stay on the journey of hope. Recognize how hopeful the people are around you, and talk about hope as a positive and reinforcing capability that we all have to lead to our own healing. These all got jacked up because of that. Hold on, I want to just. These are crazy. Okay. Those are crazy. But I'm going to leave that QR code up there. If, as Kasha said, I'm so excited. We're going to have a mental health toolkit on the website, and that is going to be resources that are curated for the TANGO2 community. Also, we're going to continue to have opportunities for folks to engage in mental health conversations, and hopefully those can be by, again, where you are in the journey. We're going to continue to be able to do that. But I want to just say I've been so privileged. I've learned more in the last 2 days than I have in a year, just collaborating. Thank you for allowing me to sit in the sacred space with you. And I do want you to all know that Given Hour does have licensed clinical mental health providers that provide free free therapy for a year, once a week for a year, to anyone in the rare disease community through a patient advocacy group that we work with. So if you or someone in your family feels like, okay, I'll work on myself, okay, I'll find community, but there's some other stuff I got to work through too, because rare is trauma, but sometimes it reactivates other trauma that's unresolved as well. So if you need access to a mental health clinician, you can talk to Kasha, you could talk to Robin, let them know, and they will send you to me personally, and I will help you find the care that you need. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.